Formula One turns around extraordinarily quickly and goes again extraordinarily quickly. And what a better place to do that than the Temple of Speed? We are headed to Monza. You have found the Outlap F1 podcast. This is season 7. This will be episode number 30. Love to say that that's my age. Not anymore, unfortunately. But you've got Andy, and I'm along with Cody tonight. Cody, it's good to see you again, sir. I love the hat you're sporting tonight, just as a personal preference. But how's it going, and how you been?
It is going well. 30 is also not even my age anymore, dude. So a little ways off from that, but that's okay. Yeah, it's been real nice. Got a hankering for Formula One here, and we're going to Monza, which is always a blast. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Blink and you may miss it, especially if it's all dry and there's no safety cars. And we want to tell that to Mr. Dominicali, and we're going to talk about what he had to say because he did some opening of his mouth in a little bit, but we will get into all that in just a bit. So if you have found our show, welcome along. As always, you can find us on X, on Instagram, Discord, on Reddit, and of course here on YouTube at Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle for all of those places. If you enjoy what you're seeing and you like what you're hearing, you can do us a solid and click either the like or the subscribe button on your YouTube. Or if you're on your favorite podcasting app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever we post, if you want to leave us a 5-star review, that will definitely help our little endeavor here come up a little bit better in F1-related search results, which is why everybody asks you to do those types of things. You can email the show, outlapf1@gmail.com. Thank you so much to the people who continue to support our show, including, you know these names by now barely better than I do, Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Worden, Kevin Kelly, who remains awesome, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and, of course, Jonathan Scott. If you'd like to become a member of that nation, get your name shouted out. As you can tell, I'm loyal. I'll do this for every episode. All you got to do is do it once, and you're in, man. If you want to leave us a small little donation, $1, $5, we will be most grateful. Do you have to do that? No, we're just glad you're here overall and you're enjoying some F1 stuff with us. But if you want to do that, you want to give us a little bit of funding, we do put our anchor page in our show notes, $1, $5. It all just goes into keeping everything up to date in this ever-evolving tech world that we live in. All right. Well, didn't have a whole lot of news until basically today. It seemed like everything kind of kicked off in earnest. The big one, so IndyCar ended. We talked about it, I think, on our review last weekend. Obviously, Alex Palou took the championship, and the IndyCar silly season. If you want to talk about, there's a lack of F1 driver changing. IndyCar is where it's at. Let's just put it this way: there are going to be a number of significant changes. Will Power has already changed teams, but it has all been started by Colton Herta. Made it official earlier this morning, and will leave his role at Andretti IndyCar to join Cadillac F1 as its test driver. So what does that mean? He does not have the sufficient super license points to participate in a Formula One World Championship as yet. It is expected that he is going to be on with Cadillac F1 starting next year as their test driver, not reserve driver, because he can't do that yet. But he's going to join an F2 program. What team he's going to join is yet to be announced in order to effectively acquire those necessary super license points. He's just going to go out and get them. So he's going to do the things that he needs to do in order to get those super license points, because unless you finish 1 or 2 in the IndyCar's championship, you're not going to get the necessary super license points. It's just the system just doesn't allow for it. There's just not enough the further down you go. So Colton said, quote, "I'm incredibly excited to be joining the Cadillac Formula One team as a test driver. This is a dream opportunity, and I've been working towards this for a long time. To be part of Cadillac's F1 entry at such a pivotal time is something I could not pass up. My dream has always been to race in Formula One, and I see this move as a huge step towards that goal. For now, my focus is giving everything I can to Cadillac F1, helping build a competitive team." All right, well, we've long rumored that he was always looking to try to find his way into F1. Red Bull were even considering trying to get an exception. That obviously never came to be. So he's just going to go ahead and do it the hard way. But Cody, what's your thought here?
I think it's very exciting. I honestly was starting to believe it was never going to happen. So this was a bit of a surprise to me, but definitely exciting. It's been a long time since we've seen an IndyCar driver move over to the Formula One world. Normally it's going in the other direction. People in Formula One not making it big or driving for, underperforming teams, or there's just not enough seats when they, come up from F2. So, it's been a while, but I think it's a good thing. And it definitely sets up Cadillac going forward because, as we discussed, they've got two very experienced veteran drivers coming into the seats who are, not as old as Fernando Alonso yet. So who knows how long they'll be in the sport, but they are getting older. And this definitely sets up for having a younger driver come into one of those seats in a couple of years, should he, perform well enough in his test driver role and in F2.
Yeah, and I think it's just this gives him time to learn. There is definitely going to be a learning curve. It is a very different monster from driving even IndyCar. Now, IndyCar they're big, heavy, full-size cars. And yeah, there's tire management in IndyCar, and they have different tire compounds, but they work differently than trying to eat up the Pirellis. And when a lot of people come over for the first time, they can drive the car fast. I have no doubt that Colton Herta will get behind his F2 car and can drive it pretty fast. He'll probably qualify really well. What it's going to come down to for him is how does he manage those tires, and does he burn them out too quick? The last example I can really give of somebody coming over was there was a 2 or 3 race contract that I think Pato O'Ward had racing for one of the Red Bull academies and was in an F2 seat. And that was exactly what happened to Pato. He was fast early on, and the tire fell off like a stone, and he kind of dropped. And he still, every time he tests F1 machinery, he says, I think back to that race and how much it taught me about how different these things are. And yeah, you have more grip, but it's how you use it and how you deploy it. So if he can learn those lessons in F2, and if he can show well in F2, there's going to be no reason why he won't be able to make the step to F1. He's still got youth on his side. He's only 25, which will probably make him one of the more senior F2 drivers, which is kind of ridiculous, but that's the world with which we live in. But if he can manage to do that, he's going to get track knowledge of the places he's eventually going to race in Formula One, and he'll learn how to work those tires and learn how to, driving in the rain in IndyCar is very different than driving in the rain in Formula One and Formula Two. So, it's all different. Different perspective, same task. You still want to go fast, still want to win the race, but how you do that is probably going to be a bit different. So I wish Colton nothing but the best. That's had the knock-on effect of opening up a seat in IndyCar, and the now ousted Will Power, who found himself without a seat, now suddenly goes to go sit in Colton Herta's old seat at Andretti. So all sorts of stuff happening in IndyCar, and that was basically the first of many dominoes which people think is going to fall. So follow the IndyCar stories if you are so inclined. There will be plenty of them. All right, so our next topic. Mr. Stefano Domenicali gave an interview to Autosport Today, and he was quoted saying several things, and I'm not exactly enthused by a lot of what he had to say, because apparently he thinks most Formula One fans have the attention span of a gnat, and proposed things like shorter Grand Prix distances, more sprint weekends. All right, that one I'm kind of not surprised about. But tweaks to the sprint format, some of that may not be bad. But the message to the fans is this is going to happen whether you kind of like it or not, so you better just kind of strap in and get used to it. There's a lot here to kind of unpack. I mean, he said packing the calendar with more sprint events, adjusting the format of these races, and shortening the Grand Prix themselves have already been discussed. So I don't know where a lot of these fans that he's supposedly been talking to sit. I just read when these stories come out, I did peruse some of the comments and looked at some of the replies on a couple different social medias. I didn't just stick to one, went to a couple because, sometimes X can be a little extreme. And I didn't want to make sure I was getting perspective, but I didn't see a whole lot of positivity coming out of that. And I'm not always Mr. Negative. I think trying something out cannot necessarily in itself be a bad thing. But when you talk about shortening the race weekend or shortening the race distance, Formula One averages 90 minutes. That's to me like you're right there, man. What are you doing? What are you trying to do? I mean, yeah, you're gonna probably have this race in Monza that if it stays green and there's no safety car and no interruption, it's over in 70 minutes. Blink and you'll miss it. Literally, if you fall asleep in the morning, you may forget to watch the race. You may have to catch it later. But Cody, what am I missing here? What's the thought here?
Yeah, this gave me the ick a little bit. I'm in complete agreement with you that the Grand Prix distance right now is like spot on. Hour and a half under normal circumstances. Maybe it gets a little longer if you got safety cars or weather coming into play, but that's just kind of the nature of the game. That doesn't always happen. And yeah, like the belief that our attention spans are so short that we can't even handle committing to this for an hour and a half is kind of nuts. Any committed fan is going to sit there and watch it happily for an hour and a half at least. On top of that, if you make the Grand Prix shorter, that's just going to mess with strategy stuff even more. We've already got races where the one stop is the preferred strategy. You make it any shorter, and there's going to be no difference in strategy at those races. People are just going to do a one stop. You might even see that happen at races where you would normally see a little bit of a mix up. So it's going to mess with strategy. And I don't see why you would want to change that now. Like Formula One is experiencing a renaissance of popularity, and that means that people like what they're seeing. So maybe if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, I can understand wanting to maybe mess with the sprint thing a little bit because they've been doing that for years, trying to hone in on what exactly is going to catch people's attention the most and like it the most. If you want to keep messing with that, fine. I still don't want to see sprints at every race. It seems like maybe they're going in that direction. That's what they do in MotoGP now, and they're all.
He said he didn't want to get to MotoGP, so I don't know what his happy medium is. Obviously, more than the 4 or 5.
We've already got it for a third of the races,
right?
Like, I guess if you want to kick it up to half or something, but we've talked about too how the way the points run for the sprint races right now, it doesn't really cause everyone to. Excuse me, my cat is going nuts. If the points right now doesn't cause every team to want to really commit to the sprint because there's just not enough points on offer. And it makes sense the way they're doing it right now with the length of the sprint race because they offer a third, pretty much a third of the points for a third of the Grand Prix race distance. But there's not a good way to spread that out to the top 10, so it only goes to the top 8, right? So you got everyone. A lot of teams thinking that's not worth putting in the effort unless you're like, the top 2 teams competing for the championship or something like that. Yeah, if you want to mess with it, make the Grand Prix, make the sprint a little longer so that it makes sense to extend out the points to maybe like half points. So maybe you're doing like half Grand Prix distance, awarding half points, bring that all the way down to the normal top 10 getting points. All right. It's a little hard to, I don't know. It's kind of hard to reason that as well, in my opinion. And I know I'm kind of rambling here, but if you extend the sprint points all the way down to 10th place, and you're already given 1 point for 10th place in the regular Grand Prix, well, then you're saying 10th place in the sprint is the same as 10th place in the Grand Prix, and that doesn't really sit great with me either.
Well, so, I mean, you could tweak your Grand Prix points to make to offset that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
There's things you can do to try to make that work. I just think what you've got in the last 2 sprints that I've seen, it's and look, his whole crux of his whole point is nobody wants to watch 3 hours of practice. Well, I do. I find it fascinating to watch how teams evolve, and when you're there, the difference in the tone of the engine and how much sound makes a difference between what you hear on Friday and what you hear on Saturday when they come out for FP3 is dramatically different. You see the cars toned down. Downforce is usually off the car. They look different. They feel different when you're there. You're going to lose that on a sprint weekend because they have to start out trying to do that kind of stuff anyway. That was one of the things I noticed, especially last year, at a sprint weekend was wow, you didn't really see that step. You didn't see the evolution necessarily until you got to maybe Grand Prix qualifying and you got to see, okay, who did what step to change, how their car was working a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with you messing around a little bit with the sprint format. But to me, if you're gonna go that route and you're gonna make this a part of what you do, you either have, I think, one of two crossroads. You either make it its own little championship that has its own thing in a bubble that you give separate prize money out for, or you make it you have to have enough of a kitty to make it worth everybody's time. So if you do that, then I think you extend the points down to 10th place. You make it fun and interesting and exciting. If you want to do your reverse grids, if it's a separate championship, I don't care what you do with it. If you make it reverse grids, I'm here for that if that's what you're going to do. If you're going to leave it as part of the regular championship, though, you got to do something here. I don't want to see reverse grids because then what's the point of going out and doing sprint qualifying? Why don't you just not setting the field on points and having, Franco Calapinto be on pole every time, or, if Jack Doohan were racing, he'd be the one on pole every time. And it's, you're just going to watch those teams drop. And then you're going to see people not be able to come out for Grand Prix qualifying because they're crashing. So there's a safety issue to that too. There's a reason that the faster cars should be at the front of a grid, especially in Formula One. Like I get it for F2 where everyone's running stock and the delta isn't as big. You could have over a second delta in Formula One. It's kind of dangerous.
One other point I got to make on this, as far as like shortening sessions, especially shortening the race distance, is it sounds like something to me that's targeted towards your TV audience. But we've talked many times before about how expensive Formula One tickets are getting and stuff like that. So for the tickets to ramp up so much in price, and then you're shortening the on-track entertainment, you're taking away time from practice sessions or the main event, stuff like that. Then it's like, if the race is only going to be like an hour long or something like that, then what the hell is the point of flying all the way out to Texas for the weekend and like shelling out hundreds and hundreds of dollars to see it? It's like, for sure if they cut down the session lengths, they're sure not going to make the tickets any cheaper. So you're gonna really alienate people who are going to the races, I think.
Not only that, but then we've talked about many times, we still do not know who our U.S. broadcast partner is really going to be. We think we know, but it hasn't been announced yet. And until we have clarity on that, you don't know where you're going to go to find your F1. So if you've shortened it and you try to make it so that it's much more TV palatable, and then you take it off of basic TV, like, is that where this is trying? Are we trying to get back in with ESPN to get them back on board? I'm kidding. The whole thing just confuses me. I understand that a lot of younger viewers will consume the half an hour recap that some of these places put out. Like I know F1 puts out like the 9 or 10 minute highlight package that gets probably bonko numbers on YouTube, and it's one of their best things. I understand that. And I get that ESPN puts out like a half an hour one, and that one's pretty good. Like I use it when we're prepping for the show, because I think you get all the big points and you get enough depth of the race to where, okay, I understood pretty much most of what was going on. But that having been said, I would prefer to do a full second viewing, so I understood the whole depth and the whole context and everything. Now sometimes because of time you just can't do that, but yeah, it's just, I don't know that I want to consume it that way. I mean, the MotoGP sprint is over before it starts. You see one or two interesting moves, and at least there's overtaking. In F1, you still have to solve your fundamental problems. You have to solve, if you can get cars to pass each other, you can make the race as long or as short as you want. It's going to be entertaining. But when you have DRS trains and all this other stuff, and you brought up a really good point when you talked about strategy. Are you trying to kill strategy? Because the trend has been, we want more tires to fall off, so we have two stops. How are you going to get a two stop out of a 70-minute race? You're not. And the other part is, how do you kill a Formula One race's entertainment? Get all 20 cars to pit at the same time, put a set of hard tires on, forget it. you'll see one, maybe two overtakes when that happens. Regardless of your venue, you can have the best venue in the world, all the great overtaking corners that you want. When that in there, if there is not a tire offset, I don't care what's going on with your cars. You're not going to see a whole lot of overtaking, and it will kill the momentum of the race. And we've seen that. So I don't know. I fear. These types of things make me nervous. Makes me nervous.
Yes,
I've seen
please don't
other.
break it.
Yes, we like what it is. I think everybody's been happy with it. I've seen it come good. I've seen it come bad. But if you got to keep its DNA, and if you start messing with that, that's when you get in trouble. But anyway, rant over. Last thing before we hop into our Grand Prix weekend proper, I didn't get a chance to put this in the show doc, but did you get a chance to see the Ferrari special livery?
No, the way you said that makes me a little worried. I figured they would have one for real.
It's not bad. It's akin back to the Niki Lauda era Ferrari. There's definitely more white on where that HP part of it is, so it actually makes it stick out a little bit. It doesn't look like that stripe that it is anymore. Not bad. I would say would be my assessment of it. I would suggest go look to find it if you haven't.
I will.
You will see it this weekend.
Really awful ones lately.
Yes, and they went with the more blue shirts for the weekend, which I still want them to. I know they're never going to do this. I still want them to make that blue into their main paint scheme because I think it would be awesome. But anyway. All right, so we're actually going to take a quick break here as we've talked long enough to where I think we need one. We're going to come back, we'll re-rack, we'll hop into our Monza GP track facts, and then we will give you what we think is going to happen over the course of the weekend with our predictions. We'll also talk a little bit about weather. So come on back, we'll hop right into it. You won't want to miss it. All right. Welcome back on in. This is season 7, episode number 30 of the Outlap F1 podcast. It's our 2025 Italian GP preview show. It's one of our, I think, collective in F1 world, one of our favorite tracks to go to. The Temple of Speed, Monza, is on tap. So we're going to hop into our Pirelli track facts, of course, brought to us by those good folks at Pirelli Motorsport who do all the analysis for us. So, Cody, tell us about the Autodromo Nacional de Monza.
All right, this weekend, Formula One finally makes its way to the Autodromo Nacional de Monza, located in Monza, Italy. Length of the Grand Prix is going to be 53 laps, and length of the track is 5.793 kilometers. That's 3.6 miles, and it consists of 11 turns. Tire selection from Pirelli is going to be on the softer side, so C3 for the hard, C4 for the medium, and C5 for the soft. And the track characteristics from Pirelli are a 3 out of 5 for traction, 4 out of 5 for braking, 2 out of 5 for lateral load, 3 out of 5 for tire stress, 4 out of 5 for track evolution, 3 out of 5 for asphalt grip, 2 out of 5 for asphalt abrasion, and a teeny tiny 1 out of 5 for downforce. That's why you see those really thin rear wings. The qualifying lap record under the current configuration of the track that does not have a big, weird, crazy oval put in the middle there is held by Lewis Hamilton, set in 2020 with a 1 minute 18.887 seconds. While the race lap record, you have to go a little ways back. The race lap record is a 1 minute 21.046 seconds, and that's held by Rubens Barrichello. Most wins at Monza is a tie between two of the greats of the sport. Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton both have 5 wins here. Second place is going to go to Nelson Piquet with 4 wins, and then it's a whopping 8 drivers tied for 3 wins apiece, some of which include Sebastian Vettel, Rubens Barrichello, Juan Manuel Fangio, and Alan Prost. And then we're not even going to name all the ones that have 2 wins. This track has been around for so long that we've got 12 drivers that have 2 wins here. So if you want to know all of them, you can go look at history books.
Yeah, most recently, Charles Leclerc joined that esteemed list of drivers.
Yes, unexpectedly last year joined the twofer club. Most constructor wins here, as you'd be satisfied to hear, is going to go to Ferrari. It has almost twice as many as everyone else. Ferrari has 21 wins. Monza, second best is McLaren with 11 wins. Then Mercedes with 9, Alfa Romeo with 8, and finally Williams with 6 wins here. What's the circuit like, Ian?
All right, it is, as the Italians would say, rapido. McLaren drivers Lando Norris's 263 kilometer an hour average speed during his 2024 pole lap should give you some idea of the nature of the track. The locals call La Pista Magica. Cars are on full throttle for 80% of the lap and hit their VMAX at the circuit's 1.1 kilometer start-finish straight. From there, they roar off into the historic park sections where a series of big stops into tight chicanes always gives the brakes a good workout. As for your weather, it doesn't look like we're going to see any intermediate or wet tires on offer this weekend. For qualifying for Saturday, except for a few afternoon clouds, mainly sunny, very warm, high around 80 degrees, winds will be light and variable. For the race on Sunday, sunshine and clouds mixed, again very warm, high 82, winds again light and variable, so not a whole lot to do from the weather. Looks like it's going to be pretty ideal all the way down, but a little bit warm, so that could favor the teams that are a little bit easier on their tires than some others. All right. Well, we will just go straight into what we think is going to happen over the course of the Monza race weekend. Obviously, this is the iconic track, the De La Roja chicane, the Lesmo corners, and the Parabolica corner are all on tap this weekend. Track limits may also be a thing, as they sometimes generally are, especially sometimes in qualifying. So we will start, as we are always apt to do, with the pole sitter. Last year's pole sitter was Lando Norris. Cody, who do you have taking the pole in this could be pivotal weekend for the championship? Does Oscar get that much closer to grabbing one hand on that championship trophy?
I think he does get a little closer. In fact, Oscar Piastri maybe could have won this race last year. Maybe should have won this race last year. A little bit of a bad strategy call by McLaren that allowed Leclerc to take the win, perhaps. But I think that Piastri is rock solid right now in the best form, and I think he's got a great chance of taking pole this time out.
All right, very good. I'm going to predict probably with my heart, which is probably not the best thing to do, but why the hell not? Because sometimes right when you don't think he's going to do something, he comes up and does something. And this is what being a Lando Norris fan is all about. Right when you count him out, he will come out and do a special, and here you go. So here's an opportunity, a track he doesn't particularly like, doesn't necessarily go good at, but he's got that car, and that car looks as good as it ever has been for the last 20 years. So why not use it? Go out, relax. There's no pressure on you now, Lando. Go out and just drive your freaking heart out. I think Lando Norris can do that and pull out a pole time. It's going to be close. Not a doubt in my mind that this is not going to be right down to the wire, but I think Lando comes out slightly ahead here. Whether or not that's good enough for the race, I don't know. That's the fun part, because lap one is always an adventure with Mr. Lando there. But I do think he might be good enough for pole. All right, so that qualifying pole lap time last year was set by Lando Norris at a 1:19.327. We are a step softer on tires. I think we've both gone with the ideas we're not going to get screwed over on lap time this time. If this happens in FP1, track records are falling. Let's put it that way. Cody,
I'm already predicting track records to be broken here.
But what you got for your lap time here?
Yeah, after every time I've gone with about half a second faster out of these last bunch of races, I've been underestimating just how fast they're going to go, because they've been going even significantly more than that. So I didn't go completely nuts and go like a full second faster, but I did go quite a bit faster. So I'm going with a 1:18.621 seconds, which I think is a new track record if they do that.
Yeah, very good. Let's see. You just read it. Lewis Hamilton was a 118.887. I've got it not quite the track record, but right there. I've got a 118.897. Let's make it, a hundredth off there. Yeah, let's see what happens there. We'll see which of us gets closer on the lap time. I do think that our lap times will be much more closer to the actual this time. All right, so we will turn our attention to Sunday, the big race in Monza. Last year's podium was Charles Leclerc taking a very popular home race win for Ferrari, hanging it out on the one stop, taking it from Oscar Piastri, who I think you're right when you say he probably deserved to win that race and just didn't. And third place was Lando Norris. All right, so who do we think is going to come out on top here? Cody, what you got?
I think this one's pretty easy, in my opinion. McLaren woulda, coulda, shoulda had their fifth consecutive 1-2 finish last weekend. They did really well here last year. I think predicting a 1-2 for them is, as far as like solid predictions go, a no-brainer. So I'm going to go with Piastri takes the win. Lando Norris comes in second place, and Charles Leclerc still gets a popular podium. I think the Tifosi will take what they can get, but I don't think they're going to get quite as impressed as they did last year.
All right, very good. And that I think is going to come down to, I don't think that Ferrari is as nice on its tires as it was last year. I think that was kind of the secret sauce for going around here. And when we talk about weather, the weather going to be hot, the wind's going to be negligible. That means the team that's easiest on its tires probably should do the best. So I do have a McLaren driver taking the win. For the sake of the championship, I'm going to give this one to Lando Norris. But I do think something special happens to Ferraris here. Is this one of those situations like Hungary where Leclerc is there and just fades at the end? If it's going to happen, that's how I think it's going to happen. But I got Lando taking the win. I've got Charles Leclerc coming in second, ahead of, believe it or not, Oscar Piastri in third. Weird things happen to McLaren here in Monza sometimes. So it's one that I almost wanted to even put Max into the mix here, but he didn't go really well here last year. So I think next week, the next race out in Azerbaijan is going to be one of his best chances. So you'll definitely see me say something with Max Verstappen on the podium next time out, but I'm not going to do it here. So I got Norris, Leclerc, Piastri in that order. Okay, so last year, the fastest lap time was set by Lando Norris with a 1:21.432. Cody, what you got for lap time, and who do you have setting that fastest lap in the race?
I got just a little bit faster, and I got it with Oscar Piastri. So I guess I'm predicting Oscar Piastri to maybe be on for his second Grand Slam or something like that, depending on how the safety cars go. But I've got Oscar Piastri setting the fastest lap with a 1:21.200 seconds.
All right, very good. I do think Oscar Piastri may set a fastest lap, especially if it turns into a two-stopper and he's on that fresher set of rubber. Question is, how far back does he have to come back from to do that lap? But I've got it at a 1:20.985, again, set by Oscar Piastri. All right, so for bonus picks, we've selected P7, P9, and P15. So bottom of the grid, that 5th through 9th place of the constructors going to get much, much more as spicy as you want. It's going to be a spicy meatball in Italy this weekend, I think, for sure. I'll go first with this one. For P7, I'm going to give it to the guy who's on great form, lots of momentum. On the podium last week, I don't think he's going to be able to repeat it here, but Isaac Hadjar looks really good right now. And if he can back up the good result in the Netherlands, which is a very tight, twisty track with not a lot of downforce, with here where it's all straight line speed and not a lot of downforce, that tells you something about that he's getting, he's rounding into form a little bit here. So I'm going to get P7, Isaac Hadjar. P9, I am going to say he's going to score points. He will probably show a little bit better, but it's a tough thing for Kimi Antonelli. He didn't do well in Imola when he was doing the local bit thing. He's probably got a lot more pressure on his shoulders this time out. But I think he'll be in the points, but I'm going to give it to him in P9. P15, I hate to do this. I know Aston Martin were the darlings of Friday last week. It was fun to watch Fernando Alonso and maybe even Lance Stroll score some points. This is the exact opposite of the track that the two tracks that they were at previously. So I think this is going to expose them. And P15 is probably being nice. They may struggle to do that. They may be the slowest car this weekend, but I've got Fernando Alonso, and I predict Aston Martin struggles. Cody, what you got here?
I've actually got two of the same drivers as you in the bonus picks, but I've got their positions flip-flopped. So I've got Kimi Antonelli coming in 7th place. I think he'll do well enough and get some decent points here at his home race. But, well, actually, isn't Imola kind of more closer to his home?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But another home race for him. And I just really hope for his sake that, he just keeps it clean. Please don't wreck another Ferrari this weekend, because it doesn't matter.
Another Mercedes.
You will be crucified. So
yes, don't wreck a Ferrari. Don't wreck a Mercedes. Don't wreck anybody.
Yeah, don't wreck. Just keep it on the track. Get your good points and come away with it with a nice big smile on your face. I have Isaac Hadjar coming in 9th place again, stolen the points. I'm thinking that they might not show as well here, though. I don't know how well the Racing Bulls does just purely on straight line speed, which is a lot of what they got going on here. But I still think he'll continue his good form and stay in the points. And then I've got Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately, in 15th. I just don't feel like the Kick Sauber team has been performing as well lately. And I think it's gonna reveal their weaknesses, kind of like you were talking about with the Aston Martin.
Yeah. Yeah, I would expect teams that were doing well last week, especially in that midfield, to kind of be struggling a little bit this weekend, because it seems to be that they're really good on the tight, twisty ones, or they're good in the straight line ones. I'd expect Williams to go really good in the midfield, and I would expect maybe the Racing Bulls to go really good here, because it's much more of those cars are more changeable for different conditions. But as our prop bet was last year, we're going to stick with the same one this year. Do the Tifosi get to rejoice on Sunday with a Ferrari on the podium? Cody, what's your thought here?
I decided to hedge my bets here. And even though I predicted Charles Leclerc on the podium for our podium predictions, I did predict no Ferraris on the podium here for our prop bet. So I'll hopefully get a point either way, unless Hamilton gets on the podium, and then I'm just screwed.
At which point, the Tifosi will also go crazy, as will a number of other people.
And I won't be too disappointed on missing out on the points if Lewis Hamilton finally gets on the podium this year.
Because it's going to be a hell of an effort, because he's, again, going into this weekend, I hate to remind everybody, but he's got that stupid 5-place grid drop. So his life is not going to be exactly easy. But if there is anybody on the grid, if that car is right, and he can tap into the not the Mercedes, but the Ferrari lore, and get the extra quarter or half second that home crowd can give you, go for it, Lewis. That would be a hell of a story, and one that I would be all here for. Let's put it that way, if that was to happen. But I do think there are better chances Charles Leclerc. The question is, do they have to do the same compromise that they did in Hungary to do it here? They're obviously going to prioritize this race. They're obviously going to go all out in qualifying. Is it enough? Do they, and then even after the race, do they pass the post-race technical inspection? Because I don't think there would be a worse black eye to have them on a podium and then maybe get kicked out later. So, but I do think we will see the Tifosi get to rejoice on Sunday with a Ferrari on the podium. So I'm going to say yes there. All right. So when and where can you find your F1 this weekend? This is standard European times. It's probably the last time this season, other than maybe Abu Dhabi, that we're really going to talk about standard European times, because after this, it's back to your flyaways. It's starting with Azerbaijan. So FP1 kicks off 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Again, in the U.S., it's ESPN Family of Networks or F1 TV are your choices to watch the action this weekend. So FP1 will be on ESPNU. FP2 kicks off 11 a.m. Eastern. That's on ESPN2. FP3, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, not quite as early as last weekend. Again, ESPN2 for that. Qualifying kicks off 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, ESPN2. And the race will be 9 a.m. Eastern time, also ESPN2 because the Shield is back in the U.S. The NFL is kicking off this weekend, but it's going to be a sports smorgasbord this weekend. F1 ends, and then as that's wrapping up and the post race is all done, we go right into the NFL. So I am looking forward to this weekend for sure. What turns and twists of the Drivers' Championship do we get out of this race? What happens in the Constructors from P5 all the way down to P9, and who's going to end up where? This race always brings something usually unexpected, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for we see something. The one thing I hope we don't have is anybody go bang again. I don't want to see any more engine failures or anything like that. But Cody, any final thoughts?
I'm pretty much the same boat as you. Very excited for this race. It'd be nice to go straight from the race into football if you're into watching the Bears probably disappoint you again this year. And
now we get to wait. We get national embarrassment opportunity on Monday night. We don't play Sunday. We get to play in front of the entire freaking country on Monday night. That's what we get.
Well, at least you'll get more likely than not, you'll get your good feels from a McLaren win first, and that'll help soften the blow.
I hope to enjoy my Sunday and be all calloused and ready to go come Monday night when that happens. And then I send you the text of why did I make time to watch this stupid football game. But anyway, we'll see what happens with all of that. But anyway, we will be back more than likely on Sunday night to recap the results of the weekend, good, bad, and maybe some ugly, but we'll have to see. So again, enjoy the Monza weekend. It's always great. It's a historic track. I'm glad that its future is more than secure on the F1 calendar. So get out there, enjoy it. So for Cody, it's been Andy. Take care of yourselves out there. And as always, may all your laps be fast.